Today is October 21st, 2017. It is 1:20 p.m. This is Jen Somerville representing the City of Savannah's Research Library and Municipal Archives. I am interviewing Steve Majure for the City of Savannah's Ardmore History Roundup Day project. We are conducting this interview at the historic Gould Cottage, now part of the Habersham School. Today we will be discussing the history of the Ardmore neighborhood and the surrounding community. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Majure. Let's start by having you tell us your full name.
My full name is Stephen Leonard Majure.
And how long have you lived in the area here?
We've lived on 51st Street since October of 1991, and we moved to our current location in May of 1994.
What's your current location?
201 East 51st Street.
Okay.
And we rented a house at 219 East 51st Street previously.
Okay. Okay, so when you were first looking to move to the area, did you hear it called Ardmore? Or
No. We had lived downtown before, and I went away for grad school. We were coming back to Savannah.
Okay.
And
so were you familiar with the?
We knew Ardsley Park.
Okay.
It's just a collective term.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of.
But once we've been back, I've heard of Ardmore and all the different little subdivisions as they were built and added in. It can be quite confusing.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're more familiar with the downtown area and then looking for where to move to. So when did you first hear of Ardmore, when you were looking more specifically in the area?
Oh, I don't know.
It just kind of seems like what we found is that Ardsley Park and that kind of area, it seems like people are more familiar with that, and even some of the people within the boundaries of Ardmore think that they're in Ardsley Park because it's not as well known, the district and the boundaries and everything. It's just like even some of the earlier maps like we were showing you earlier, the earlier maps don't have the same boundaries, and
right.
Then, so it's just kind of, we're just kind of trying to track down how it was advertised, when the lots were first laid out in the 20s versus even now. If you're moving to the area, a lot of people seem like they're drawn towards Ardsley Park, and then Ardmore is like a nice little area right next to it.
It's hard to define since they don't have physical boundaries.
Yeah, and even with this stuff that we've been doing now, like we've said in different maps over the years, it's hard. It seems like the neighborhood district doesn't even have it clearly defined. So what do you know about the history of your house?
We are only the third owners,
okay.
And we have the original blueprints, which are in the process of scanning.
Yes, which is going to be awesome.
I did some research early on before records were digitized, so I went down and looked at wills and plats for the property.
Okay.
I have been in correspondence with, I think it was Northern Illinois University. Okay. And
they had the...
Yes, the documentation is what also would be accompanying what we give you. To find out more about the architect who was listed on the blueprints.
Okay. And that architect was
Willis
P. Holmes?
Willis B.
I'm sorry.
Holmes.
Okay.
And his family was, I guess, prominent in Macomb.
Okay.
And again, there's more information from Illinois in the documentation that will be forthcoming to y'all.
Okay. So Martin T. Price was the original owner. Do you know who the second one was?
Cecil Pacetti.
Cecil. Do you know spell the last name?
Pacetti.
Okay. Great, that'll help us track some information down. And I'm sorry, when was the house built?
In 1927, as far as we know.
Okay. Was there any major additions or changes, alterations, anything like that over the years that you're aware of or have any evidence of?
No, there is on the front porch there is sort of a chase in the corner where when the Pacettis bought the house, they added a second full bath upstairs.
Okay.
But they matched the stucco, so if you don't know what it is, you don't realize, you just think it's part of the structure. And there's also a small shed, which I believe is probably original to the house. It's probably where they kept the coal for the original furnace on the the back, but it's a shed lean to.
Okay. So do you know if, I'm sure we're going to learn a lot from the information in that folder, but do you know of any significant events that took place in the neighborhood or at the house or anything? You had said that Martin T. Price owned an outdoor advertising company and that Ted Turner moved to the area. Can you expand a little bit upon that?
Well, that's some here. Our next door neighbor, Fanny Robbins, she's now deceased, but she and her husband built the house next to us, which was the last house on the block.
Okay.
It's a little bit more ranch style than the rest of the block. But she said one day that somebody famous in TV lived there or owned it at some point. I was like, I don't know, because I knew that there were only been 2 owners. But that's when we found out that the affiliation was with the Turner family. The Turners had moved to Savannah to buy into the outdoor advertising firm, and they moved nearby on Evercorn or somewhere.
Okay. And then the research you've done is...
But I don't know that... I've never tried to contact Ted Turner to see if he has memories of going over to the house. So I don't know that anything important has ever happened there.
Okay. Well, it's a good place to start. We got a little bit of clue. We can start some research there. Is there anything else about the neighborhood or anything since you've been here for a little bit of time that you've kind of discovered over the years that people that don't live in the neighborhood might find, or like you said, your neighbors that have lived there for forever? Anything else that, since they've passed on, anything interesting that they might have told you over the years? I mean, just something silly like that, that you might think is kind of silly, but if we've got little pieces, we can start piecing them together and try to find
I don't
something.
really have anything other than just day-to-day living around the 51st.
Okay.
We talked about it the other day. It's like we've been here almost 30 years, but we've just watched the neighborhood slowly, evolve and change.
Okay.
Kids grow up.
Yeah. So it's life. But yeah, it's just so the point of this whole thing is we're trying to nominate the neighborhood for a National Register district. So some of the different qualifications are a significant person lived in the area, a significant event happened, the architectural history, or if it could lead to some archaeological information. So if we have any kind of little pieces about events, even just modern or just normal social kind of stuff, like the civil rights movement kind of stuff like that, how it's it is just normal neighborhood life while you're living here, but like when the districts were drawn out, there was stipulations on who could and couldn't live there.
Right, that had the original deed that Mr. Price had.
Okay.
The doors were supposed to face north-south. Ours actually faces west,
Okay.
but the front of the porch faces north.
Okay.
And one's supposed to be sold to blacks.
Yeah.
And all this is written up in the deed, which I don't think is in this file, but I do have another file that I'll look for.
Okay. Yeah, that would be awesome.
They're just copies of the public documents, but.
Okay. Yeah, but it's neat just to see how stuff was worded, that, what was commonplace in the 20s, how it's worded,
right.
What everything you just said, how that's changed over
time. We just know basic history of the families. The Prices, her name was Babella, and they adopted a daughter. I can't remember her name. It'll be written somewhere.
Okay.
But when he died, in his will, he left everything to his wife, and then he left $100 to his daughter.
Oh, wow.
And when we bought the house, there were 4 adult children of the Passettis that they all lived elsewhere, Charlotte, St. Mary's, and Atlanta. So none of them really wanted to come back to the house.
Yeah.
But Susan told me one time that her mother said that a lady came back and said that she had lived there.
Oh, wow.
And we don't know if that was the daughter. And somebody that Jim works with one time said that they had rented a room in our house way back. Again, I don't know how truthful that is, but it's just hearsay.
Yeah, sometimes those rumors can be, fruitful if we can.
But shortly after Vabella Price inherited the house, the bank had her declared
incompetent.
Yes,
Okay.
incompetent, and the bank took the house from her, and then the bank sold the house to Mercedes.
Okay. So that would be in the chain of time. Okay. And so I'm sure we can find that on court records, but about the time frame that the Passettis bought it?
I think it was 1950 or 1952.
Okay.
Mercedes, yes, bought it in 1950.
Okay.
Okay, so this is Luciana Spraker with the City of Savannah Research Library Municipal Archives, and I just have one final question. Out of all of Savannah's neighborhoods, what do you think makes Ardmore special?
The fact that it's primarily residential and the different historical styles of architecture. It's close to everything. You can be downtown in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
You can be south side if you have to go. You can be through the islands if you will. So that's why we like being central. And we like the character of our house, the fact that it's very original.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that's it for today.
Okay, all right. Right. Well, thank you for sharing your memories of Ardmore and Savannah with us today, Mr. Major.
You're welcome.